All right, this is why I feel like I'm looking at these photos, right? And it's beautiful, but it also seems like some of these pictures
Yeah.
with how this is set up and everything, and people can't see the setup, but it feels like this is almost like a post porno shoot. Like you've already fucked everybody in this album. You're like, hey, you want to pose?
My goal is to just fuck every comic in the entire scene. That's my move.
That's a legit goal. Why not?
I guess I like I don't know. The technology creeps me out. I don't think everything needs to be on the internet.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I'm with you. I hate. I barely. I put when I put clips. I'll put this here. Is that okay?
Yeah, by all means.
When I put clips, I use like my. I actually don't even have a laptop. I just
All phone.
Yeah, I use my phone. Like I use an app like Video Leap. If any comics need like any like apps to use, Video Leap is very nice to cut images and whatever. And I just use the subtitles manually and yada yada yada.
Did you need water or anything, by the way?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you need, please let me know.
But I seasoned the chicken right before coming.
Yeah.
And I just like put it back in the fridge. I'll cook it when I come back.
Yeah.
I'll cook it when I come back. But I was like, all right, cool. But yeah. So we first met at that show with Ahmed at the bar.
That was when we first met?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, you were on that show.
Because you tricked me.
I tricked you?
Yeah.
What do you mean I tricked you?
You were like, dude, I already follow you. And I was like, you do? And I was like, yeah, Aaron Chase. And I click it, and they go like, and they follow you. I'm like, wait a second. This motherfucker doesn't follow me, man. He goes like, I got you. And I was like, all right, cool. I was like, and then you're like, I'll follow you back. I'm like, all right, well played, though.
Is that really? That's how we met?
Great salesman. Yeah. I was like,
that's crazy.
He sold the Arab.
That's it. My first memory of you was Rob talking about you and telling you to come up to the Second City show we have at Comedy Typhoon.
Yeah. So then, second time was meeting there, and that was a funny show because we just got there.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
And then I'm literally walking in the back, and I hear, "Give it up for Osama Basal." I was like, "Oh my god!" I dropped the bag. I didn't even have this. I like to sit for a few minutes, write my set list on purpose, and I just kind of winged it, in terms of material order. I was like, I'm not the best at doing it off the cuff on stage, but I was like, okay, I've done a set yesterday. I can just kind of dabble with that. But I was like, all right, cool. It was a really fun room.
Yeah.
Really nice room.
Space.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. I literally just said his name.
Sorab.
Sorab speaks very, very highly of you.
Yeah, I've heard he's the sweetest of all time.
He's very nice guy.
Yeah, because we met in. So I knew Kristen Toomey from over a couple of years ago, maybe. She came to New York and we had met up and we clicked. We were really we had a good banter and everything. Mm-hmm. And then, I moved to Chicago, which is a whole nother thing. I moved to Chicago, so Kristen is here and stuff. So she put me on her show at Reggie's, and it was a great lineup. There was Michael Myers, and there was Sorab, but there was Aaron Putnam. And I know Aaron Putnam too. I don't know if you know Aaron.
I'd have to see his face, but
yeah, I'll show you. I don't know if you fucked him too.
Fingers crossed.
But he probably. And so so I knew Aaron and I knew Kristen, but I didn't know. I had seen Sorab actually online. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this guy is really, really funny. And then he gets up and and I got up first, and then Michael Myers, and he was really good to watch him. He's a veteran in the game, you can tell. And then I watched Sorab, and then, and Chicago comics have this thing, and you've done it too, which I appreciate, where you guys come up to somebody and be like, hey man, great set.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they don't do that in New York?
Not really.
Okay.
You just meet people in New York, but a compliment to the comedy, you get it, but over time. Like if once you become friends with them, kind of thing. Then they'll be like, they'll comment on the set particularly or a particular joke or something. Then you get these, compliments / maybe even hey, that's first time at the open mic, oh, that's a good bit, you should keep it. The comedy talk starts a little bit later in Chicago. Knock on wood, it's been a blessing in terms of people's,
reception to you.
Reception, yeah. And I've also come here with more experience than when I moved to New York. This is a little over 6 years in the game. There, I was coming in about 3.5 years in. So that was, so I already came in with material. So when there's a show, I got a bunch of materials I can showcase. Mm-hmm. So it was fun. He came to me. He was like, you're really funny, bro. He's like, listen, let's go hang out. Take my number. And I was like, and I love to make friends in general. Aside from comedy has really allowed me to make lifelong friends, which I love. And then we hanged out for the first time at the Russian bathhouse.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you go for it. What are you gonna say?
I'm pretty sure he's there a lot.
Yeah. Either he loves the bath, either he loves the sauna, or he just loves naked Russian men. It's one of the two, or maybe both.
Maybe I think it's a little bit of both. I remember he seems to like saunas in general.
He's a Persian guy.
Yeah, is that what they do? They go to saunas?
Yeah. So even Arabs do, but like Persians do keep their kebabs and their saunas and stuff, and once you see him in a sauna with a towel over his head, I'm like, historically that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's all coming together.
So I met him, and then I met with him. We were like hanging, and then I met Dan Cass. I'm a fan of Dan as well, and so we all just hanged out, and then we smoked weed. Which we smoke weed. You see, you come in sober to the bathhouse, then you go out and Chicago comics, shout out, they do a lot of smoke. You guys smoke out any competition.
Yeah.
I picked up some bad habits and I took it back to Michigan. I was smoking after every show. I'm like, you guys don't fucking get this fucking toasted out here? And they were like, no, we got jobs. I'm like, my bad. So we smoked quite a big fucking joint, and then we went back in, and I was like, oh, this is a lot of Russians in here. I didn't even notice. Yeah, but that's how we met, and so then we sat and we've done a bunch of shows since then.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
I've only heard positive things about you since you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Since you came in the scene, you hear whisper. You know how comedy scenes are big but small. There's gossipiness about it. Yeah,
of course. Oh, yeah.
You hear whispers about
it's
people.
Workplace, really. A lot of people think it's like negative, but I'm like, negative or positive. Actually, it is a workplace situation. Anywhere you work, there's talk.
Yeah, and we work with a bunch of crazy people, so it's
comedy.
Yeah, it's comedy, and I mean, you're always spoken very highly of. You're always talked about how funny and nice you are. So here we are.
It's a blessing. Yeah, my dad always says that it's people's love is not something you control. It's a blessing from God. So
speaking of that, where are you from originally?
I'm from Syria. Still Syrian passport, which is expired. By the way. And I have which I joke about. I say I am a Syrian refugee.
Yeah.
Technically, I'm a Syrian asylum seeker.
Okay, what's the difference?
It's too technical for the crowds. I used to do it back in the day. The difference is only that a refugee comes from the outside in, and an asylum seeker is already in, and then shit happens. You're like, can I stay a little longer?
Okay.
So that's what happened with me. So so I do say refugee, but I am an asylum seeker. But also, asylum seeker is not as funny, or is not as, and it's too many syllables in a joke per se. I'm like, you know what? An American crowds ain't gonna, unless you're like, which have happened before. People work in immigration, like not officers, but like the lawyers. But they come to me after the shows and they actually ask me, like, are you really? I'm like, I can give you my case number. Yeah.
Wow.
For a long time, since 2016.
So you've been here since 2016.
2010.
2010.
But then I became the status. I applied for it in 2016. Yeah.
Okay, so you're in Syria. What made you decide to come to America in the first place?
I went to Michigan State University. I was living in the UAE too. I wasn't living in Syria. My mom, my parents were expats there, so we're just living there, working there. And so they opened a Michigan State in Dubai. And I wasn't living in Dubai. People think, I was living in like a small city.
Wait, they're opening Michigan State in Dubai.
They're opening a bunch of American universities and British universities and, even Australian universities in the Middle East, in the Gulf region. Because they're booming. They're trying to bring, the idea was to bring Western education to the Middle East.
Okay.
So, and the idea of Michigan State University, among others, opening, and they open them, and they give you like 2 floors in a building. It's not like the whole, it's just like 2 floors. And it's part of other universities. It's like almost like a fucking food court of like universities. But the idea was that you get the certificate, Michigan State, it says, but it doesn't say Dubai. You just get it's from Michigan State. So that was the appeal. I can study with my, and be with my parents, and then 2009 was my freshman year. 2009 was my freshman year. And then 2010 in the summertime, just hanging out, in between, before the start of the fall semester. And it was the recession, if you remember. It was like the global recession. Yes, we do, yeah, right? Yeah. The people don't know, the younger comics that don't know about it. I'm like, I was 4 years old. I'm like, all right, it's too young. But so they shut down.
Yeah.
They were losing millions of dollars apparently, and we didn't know this, and they shut down. And so people don't sue them. They were like, hey, Go to the embassy. We've told them that there's gonna be an influx of you guys coming. We would transfer your credits. It's the same credits, so you can just hop on, go to Michigan State,
Actual Michigan State.
actual Michigan in Michigan, because it was like end of July. Like we're about to start in 3 weeks, literally in 3.5 weeks we're gonna start, and we get the call that there's no more university to go to.
Yeah.
So like, what the fuck? It's like either you go to 2 universities that reopen their admissions for us particularly, or you can go to Michigan State in America. And my dad, he is a fan of the American. He's like, you should go.
Yeah.
He's fan of the American education system. He's like, you should go. Also, I was a very dumb student. My grades were shitty. They only took me in because they needed people.
Right.
So he's like, this is an opportunity that you would never get accepted at Michigan State in real life. So it's like, you gotta go.
He sounds like a blunt guy.
Oh yeah, they told me. I remember funny about him is that he told me one time, I was like, man, I really I think I might go into med school. And then he goes to me, he goes, Osama, focus on things that you can do, all right? I'm like,
God damn.
He's like, I'm not gonna fool you. He's like, you can probably do it, and
Yeah.
you can be it. And he goes like, you just don't have the discipline for it. And I was like, and I literally at the time I was like, he is correct.
Okay.
It wasn't even harsh. I was like, yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
Thank you. He actually almost unloaded like a weight off my shoulders. I'm like, you don't think I'm like, thank you so much. Then fuck it.
Before we keep going into your trip to America, what was it like growing up? Were you really close with your parents, your mom and your dad?
I'm still am. Yeah.
What were they like growing up, and how did they raise you? How did they,
So I was raised by a single mom. And my dad is my stepdad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My parents, my dad died when he was 33, and I'm 32, which is kind of right. I gotta get past his days. You never know, man. Come on, dog. I don't have time. No. Hopefully, we have time. But so he passed away from a stroke. That just happened out of the blue. And so threw my mom into a loop, and she was in Syria, and so then she had, like she had to move. She had a business, and somebody did her dirty at the time, and the business had to shut down. And she's an arts major, so she went to the UAE, the Arab Emirates. In the 90s, they just discovered the oil thing, so their population was not, the most educated, because they were like literally they were Bedouins.
Wait, what was that word?
Bedouins.
What's that?
Like they live in the desert, like the Arabs that Americans think all Arabs are.
What our stereotype is a Bedouin.
Is a Bedouin, which is another kind of like a human in terms of how they live, in terms of they have like the UAE's any main source of income was pearl fishing, so they dive for pearls, and the other one was. What is it? It's been a year since I've been back there. I forgot the other one. I mean, aside from living, and like herding and all that stuff. But like pearl fishing was one of the. They literally like would go and they would say goodbye to their families for like a week or two, and they go on these little boats and they literally dive. Great swimmers apparently. They dive in the depth of the sea and like they get pearls and they sell them. So then they got oil. So they can't even some of them can't read or write, like the leader of the UAE, who passed away, like who combined all the 7 states. He called them the Emirates. That's what the United Arab Emirates. Emirates are like states. That's what they are. So it was 7 Emirates, and he united them all. Like he can't read or write, but he's a great leader. He was a fantastic, very wise man. He had a lot of quotes. I wish a lot of leaders were like him. May he rest in peace. His name is Sheikh Zayed. He's a very. And I lived in his city, which is called Al Ain, which is in the southern Dubai, which is very famous, like in the upper by the sea, whatever. We're like closer to Oman, which is like Oman is souther, and then under Oman is Yemen, which is Yemen is famous. This is how low we're going now in the peninsula. When you edit this, put the map for the because you're like, what is he talking about? All these. So she moved there, I guess, out of like the need to move, and she became a teacher, and 25 years teaching there overall, before she come here. Live with my uncle, my mom, my uncle, her brother, like we lived together. Then he got married. He became, they became neighbors, like door to door. Like he was like a father figure growing up. But I was an only child really, up until like 15, 16. Then my uncle moved to Canada, and his best friend, who is my stepdad now, and I've known him. They worked in the same company. He knows. I've known him since I was because he's my uncle's one of my uncle's best friends, and so this fucker got a liking to my mother.
Was it weird at all when?
I had a feeling, I had a suspicion because they both smoked cigarettes and
Okay.
they were smoking a lot of cigarettes. So my uncle moved to Canada, my mom was moving. We were moving apartments, and so he actually helped us move, and he entrusted his best friend to help us move.
Well, that's how it goes.
How it goes, But it's an Arabic relationship, so there's nothing promiscuous about it. Nothing like they were just like we hang out to smoke, but they bonded a lot, and so I remember the day my mom talked to me about it. I knew it. I had a feeling. I was like, because she was stuttering. My mom was a very strong, very independent, very straightforward woman. She's a single mom. I was writing a joke about her actually. I don't have jokes about them much. I've been trying to write jokes about them. But like I was like she's the only single mom I ever knew in the Middle East. I've never seen other single moms back home. Everybody has families of 5 and 6 and.
No, out here they don't teach us shit about other places, and
Yeah,
I can
you don't
only
have-
tell you our stereotypes.
Yeah.
So when I think of the stereotype, I can't imagine a single woman
Yeah.
surviving on her own. Is that accurate or?
No, she survived fine.
Okay.
But
Okay.
also kudos to her. I don't know. I mean, I do know, but like it's her skill level that allowed her to live. But she just UAE. She doesn't wear the scarf,
Okay.
for example. She worked in public school, so she'll wear it in the public school in a way that's like just enough. Like she'll cover she'll put just a little bit on top, just to kind of. But if she's teaching inside the classroom, you can take it off because it's kids.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Interesting.
But it's not even a law. Like just put something, just like a little. But she doesn't like outside. We just
She's doing her thing.
her doing her thing. I used to hear like some comments from like some of the local kids, local Emirati kids at the time. I don't know about the kids now, but at the time they can be very racist and they can be very demeaning and they can be to other Arabs.
Sure.
Arab on Arab racism. It's kind of like black on black thing,
Yeah.
Hispanic on Hispanic. We all know these little communities. So you'd hear a lot of comments and stuff like your mom doesn't wear.
Is the idea of it a sense of modesty? Is that the point?
Sense of modesty, yes. But
Okay.
people don't know this. The woman for her to cover up, she needs to be 100% convinced. It has to come from conviction by the woman, not by force, not by. Please put it. You can't if she in her heart to heart, because it's the relationship between you and God. It's not. Nobody can mediate that. It's either you believe in it or you don't.
Okay.
And it doesn't make you less of a Muslim or more of a Muslim. A Muslim, or whether Muslim, Christian, or a Jew, as these Abrahamic religions, I can assume that it's between you and God. Anyways, that's how it should be, I believe too.
Okay.
So she was just did her own thing, and we lived. My uncle was our literally door-to-door neighbor, so we had that guy and his family, and they were like the extended family. And
So she comes to you. You're what, 16, 17? When
16, yes, 16.
16, and she's like, "Hey."
So he was like, so he proposed. He asked his best friend, which is her brother first, and he's the oldest. My uncle is the oldest than my mom. And it's only 5 of them. Then my mom and then my 2 aunts and 1 uncle.
Okay.
3 daughters and 2 sons by my grandfather, which is very little. The guy did not,
He was going for more sons. Is that what his?
No, not son, but like he didn't have more kids. Like from my dad's side, my biological father is 12 of them, for example. Yeah. I'm like I have cousins that don't even know who they are. Like there's like 70, 80 of us out there.
Oh wow.
But I'm the most foreign out of all of them because I'm the kid that like moved away after his dad passed away and all. Anyways, that's the whole. So yeah, she comes up to me. She goes like,
Give me
yeah.
1 second, I forgot it. It records 20 minutes at a time. It'll stop
Oh,
recording.
I've heard actually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you can check your stuff. You're good. We're started again.
Is this?
Yeah, we're
running
still
right
going.
now?
Yeah, you're
Oh,
good.
okay.
No, do whatever you need to check, man.
I need to text my mother.
Speak of the devil.
Yeah,
While you're doing that, I could talk. Yeah, that sounds interesting. It sounds like I mean, we don't get taught about other cultures and the little idiosyncrasies. Everything that we're taught out here is if it's not American, it's weird, it's foreign, it's something different.
Yeah.
And so to hear, like for example, the hijab, is that the proper term?
Hijab, yeah.
Like the hijab, it's always been presented to me as you have to do this, and it sounds like that's not actually the case.
The people that say you have to do this, the Middle East, whether the Middle East also stretches from northern Africa, all the way to the Middle East, that like the literally the war-torn peninsula, and then there's the oil, the oil-heavy countries, the Arab money, Swiss bees and shit. That guy fucking ruined us. These guys, so it's different ideologies. So it's just like in America, there's Mormons. Like,
Right.
and there is like Protestants, and there is there's even Amish. Like, I'm surprised that people look at Arabs and they're like, I'm like, really, but the Amish is fine, like a fucking horse and buggy motherfucker. I mean, I know, and they don't even pay taxes and shit. I'm like, yo, that's fine for you, but like what we do is bizarre. It's not really that bizarre. It's very much the same. So it's all culturally, it's all regional. It's all,
It's like Texas is different from California.
Yeah.
From,
As it should be. It's a big region.
Yeah.
People are very different. America is a huge. It's literally a continent. So it's not a
just a country.
It's a country, but it's not a small. Like, it's not like Lithuania.
Right.
Everybody in Lithuania knows Lithuania, but not everybody in America knows America. That was deep.
So okay, so they get married, you live life, and you're good. Then you move to Michigan because you were too dumb to be in medical shit.
I mean, I joined the major that I got in and I graduated from was construction management.
Okay.
Michigan State Dubai had only 5 majors because they didn't have the resources to have more. They only had like a. So from the 5 majors, the one that they kind of pushed me towards was like, hey, it's kind of like civil engineering, but it's construction management. I don't really care about school. I want to be a soccer player.
Oh.
And I'm very good, and I still play to this day. Like, I'm probably playing over the weekend. I played like a couple of days ago at the Chicago Fire pitch and stuff, and I'm trying to coach over the summer, like almost full time. I tried to be professional as a kid. I was really good. I'm still very good now, like knock on wood, because I got a lot of injuries. Yeah. But that was my ultimate goal. So I didn't care about school. I was like, you know what? I go to Michigan State. I tried to play soccer there too. But then the recession happened. Within like a 3-week notice, my dad was like, listen, this is a great opportunity to go. And so my mom was like, she doesn't want to be far away from me, obviously, because she's I'm her favorite kid at the time, and she also, I have a half brother who's like my brother, but he's my half brother based on American terms. He's 15 years old. I'm 32.
15.
I was 16. I was 17 when he was born, so he's 15 years old now. I'm 32.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. So he's my all, this guy. So I left in 2010, came to Michigan State. Direct transfer. Everything is fine. At the time, though, there was the Arab Spring, which is the uprisings in the Middle East against some of the leaders. It started in Tunisia with the guy setting himself on fire, and then that happened. There was a domino effect with Egypt, and
this would have been about 2012.
No, it started in 2009.
Oh, okay.
And then 2010, it was kind of like it started in Egypt, my roommate was. Shout out Abbas. My roommate, he was Egyptian, so we used to watch the protest on TV. We used to get high and watch the protest. To be like, yes, take over the government. We kept that low. And then in 2011, the civil war in Syria started. The uprising started.
And that's where the whole idea of you being a refugee or
that's where part of my act comes from, is the fact, which is true, but that's what threw me. That's what took my life and just gave me the biggest challenge to this day yet, in terms of like how I'm living to this day. Like to this day, like I have to renew my license every couple of years. My work permits that came in 2020. Prior, I was just working. In 20, so every like couple of years I have to renew my work permit too, with the fear of it not being renewed either. So to this day, like I'm still like, the worry from that day is still,
the war starting made a domino effect for your life.
2011, yeah. So Syria suddenly became a war-torn region, which I have a great bit about like how it's how bad of a shape it is, that that we heard that Bangladesh was sending aid to Syria. And I go like, I don't know if you know much about Bangladesh, which is a funny word to say on stage. I'm like, but they receive aid, Yeah. So your country's doing bad when Bangladesh is like, we got you, dude. Yeah, you've heard that. Yeah. So that's where that joke, it's It's like I used to say that, and then I stopped because people would be like, I was like, it's kind of like a homeless guy giving you his food. I'm like, I guess I'll have that, It was like an overstretch of that joke. I'm like, I stopped doing that part then. But So and then the country, unlike the other nations, which is Tunisia and Egypt, they toppled the guy, which didn't actually help. Now they're still in the same fucking shit with another fucking, like dictator. But Syria, the guy never stepped down. He still is the president. He won against his people. Okay. Against popular opinion, he just stayed in power, and so literally the country went up in flames. From and everybody got involved too. Russia, America, China, militant groups, ISIS. And I do this because it's like, who's funding them in the first place?
Who's funding them, sir?
Allegedly. You know who, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. We don't want to get you in trouble.
No, we don't want to get... No, it doesn't matter. I mean, people, it's a widely spread thing that is funded by America anyways in the first place.
Yeah.
In terms of these groups and, whatever it is. But anyways, that civil war started, and that it's because of our, the guy, that we are in this mess anyway. So the idea of me coming back to Syria got scrapped. The idea of me coming back to the Middle East got scrapped. The university told me, you gotta stay here. You can't go back. In 2012, I had the visa to go back in and out one more time. It's 2011, so 2012. So they're like, you can go see your family one more time. And I did. And I said goodbye. And I didn't see them for another 4 years after that. I graduated and... I hadn't started. I started comedy a couple of months after they got here. 2018, I started comedy.
2018, okay.
Beginning of 2018, yeah.
So prior to you starting comedy, the idea you want to be a soccer player.
Yeah, but that died when I was about 18. I kind of knew it was gonna happen. And when I got here at 19, I knew it wasn't gonna happen. I had too many injuries. My ankle was. Now I play fine, but I did a couple of surgeries on my hips, my ankles. I had to really, so it took me out for. I knew it wasn't gonna happen.
Gotcha.
And that was a heartbreak on its own.
What was the moment of that's just a strange thing to pivot to, comedy? Why comedy?
Always a fan. Since I was when internet came about and I discovered Russell Peters, and the Red, White, and Brown special was, in my opinion, in my eyes, is one of the best specials of all time. Okay. Just because of, he's a brown comic, and even my crowd work. When I first started doing comedy, I would base it off what he does, Indian guys, Pakistani guys, and people this white guy is fucking. Wild, bro, talking to people like this. A black guy, a Spanish guy, and I'm because I've had white comics be like, "You're so lucky you're Arab because the way you look, you shouldn't be talking to people like this." And I'm like, I think even if I was a white American, I just have some balls, bro. It's funny. It's funny. So I was a fan of him a lot, and then after him, I have seen a clip of Godfrey, which we didn't know his name. Remember the old clip of Godfrey when he was on some show in Europe, and that's the thing what got him viral. He even said, black American comedian, hilarious. That was the whole YouTube clip. There was no name, no Godfrey, whatever it is, and it's just him talking about eating at an Indian restaurant and his ass is on fire. He goes he's eating. He's and people were losing their, it was I don't know, 05, 04. So it was a great comedy at the time, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, give me the bottle. So I just love that. And I was always a funny guy. My grades reflected how shitty I was as a student because I was just a funny guy. I was just always a clown, So I was a fan of the arts, and then I got to then I saw Eric Griffin, who I'm a big fan of. In comedy, he is like, girls, I'm Arab. I'm not, I look Arab, but I'm not Arab, So I'll. So I got the hairy knuckles, but he can carry the remote control. He was fucking wild, this guy. This motherfucker was saying some wild shit about the Arab. And then I met and then I got introduced to Chappelle and Bill Burr, and then my taste in comedy got refined and changed. Not refined, but changed to liking other. I found Mitch Hedberg. I found Mitch Hedberg. To this day, the one thing I watch the most is stand-up comedy. I consume comedy. That's my number one thing. That anybody special that comes out, I watch it, I analyze it, I see it, I study it.
I'm getting that sense from you. Even the way you talk about, even in the way you're talking about things, in the way you talk about your jokes, I wrote it down, technique. You seem, correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem to be a guy who really loves the technique of crafting a joke.
Yeah. I'm pragmatic about it. My performances are not pragmatic. It seems like I'm just convinced, but that's what I want them to believe. That it's this guy just...
Yeah.
It's not to quote Louis C.K., not bring him up, but Louis C.K., for example, he has been told before, he sounds conversational, but actually hours of him doing the same set over, so it looks like he just but he's done this so many times.
Yeah.
And so even when comics in the scene, I'll talk to even Sorab or you would do more shows in the future, you can talk to me about a bit of yours and I'll break it down for you in terms of technically what I think might be missing. If you're working on a joke, I'm I think technically this is what happened to you. I can't do it to my stuff as good as, you know, how like relationship advice you can. I do analyze it a little bit with my stuff, but I give better like analytics and technical commentary from like a comedy fan point of view and like a student of the game.
Objective. You're.
Yeah. I look. That's why I go to Laugh Factory. I sit up and I watch people and I see whether they're doing good, bad, or even bad, and then they won them back, or then good and then they lost them. Why did you lose them? What changed? Sometimes it's your face. Sometimes your energy. Sometimes this. You know. So it's yeah. It was also English being my second language. I gotta be
On it.
I have to be on it. I have to be like, I don't have the luxury of just kind of riffing on stage sometimes.
You have an obsession about this, and I can see why you're very. You are a. Let's speak a little bit on you. You don't seem to like compliments, but I'm going to give them to you anyway.
I can't take them.
Okay, good. Get ready to be uncomfortable.
I take them, but I do take them, and I try not to. I take them. I'm like, I gotta work harder.
Sure.
Because you take them sometimes, and the fear is you take it, even in soccer.
Yeah.
Like you're a great soccer player. You take it, and then you go like, oh, I was just, man.
Yeah.
But it's a fear of mine. It's like you can't get complacent. You really have to be stay grounded, stay humble, and bomb as much as possible, without trying to bomb. But like, you know, try to
Step out of your comfort zone.
So you can murder in the future harder. Yeah.
I will give you a compliment, and then I'll
Please
stop.
go ahead.
Okay. All right. Here it comes. Here it goes. When we were at the Love Below.
Yeah, it was a great show though.
It was great. I was after you, and I was like, oh, you know when someone goes before you and they do really well, and you're happy they're doing well, you're happy the audience is with it, but you're like
sweating it a little bit.
Yeah, you're like, fuck, I hope I can keep this energy going. That's how I felt.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, you really, you're not some, you are someone I would love to follow more for the challenge, but not for my own ego.
For the challenge. Yeah, same thing with a lot of comics. You know, a lot of comics that are good. I always like to be with the lineup that's very strong. Than to be like the guy. I don't want to be the best guy on the lineup. I just want to be part of the lineup that's great. And one thing about following people too, being like a student too, is that on the Joe Rogan podcast, I don't watch the podcast really, because like unless the guests are comedy or MMA. But there was sometimes they drop gems quite a bit in terms of like technical comedy, and when they had like multiple guests, I forgot who it was. Like, you know, it was like Ari and a bunch of other comics, and they were talking about like following somebody who was murdering so hard. You're like, my God, man. Even though you're funny, well, you know, his energy was the best thing they've ever seen. So what Dev said is that you got to give the crowd a couple of minutes before you say this is a bomb. Like, give it a couple of minutes for them to adjust back to you. So don't lose, like, and this is, I tell myself this, if I see somebody like killing, I'm like, okay, so do the jokes about say blah, 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 and then ease into them, and then have a good time, and then hopefully it can be a bomb, sure, or you cannot be as good as that guy for sure, because just how life is, but then give it a 2-minute adjustment for the crowd to just kind of rewire, because, you know, this guy is different than that guy. So if they laughed so hard at the one-liner dude, and you are like a storytelling comic, for example, we'll give them some time to adjust back to storytelling. Don't immediately be like, because, you know, mentally, you talk to yourself mentally too on stage, you're like, oh man, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I used to be like, man, I'm like, and now that I've used that rule, actually it helps me a lot. Because 2 minutes in, you can see them cracking up. All right. 4 minutes, 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in.
When I followed you, I could feel that we were different styles. I could feel that we just approached things very differently. And I think the audience could feel that. But either way.
It's also a very, by the way, like people who don't know the show, but it's a very small room too, very intimate room, and it's like that's a unique atmosphere on its own as well.
It's a different vibe.
Like right now for me, like the biggest challenge right now, I've done the Laugh Factory, I've done these clubs a couple times only really, because I'm very new here, which is, you know, makes sense. Laugh Factory for me is one I need to navigate because it reminds me of some of the clubs in New York, like it's because a lot of them are like tourists, and I do political material, and I have stuff now about dating, and you've heard them, like this balding and stuff. Which, by the way, thanks to the Chicago scene, every scene that you come in allows me to write something different. In New York was like punchy, and crowd work. Where you guys from? Yeah, fuck your sister, man. So, and then I saw Chicago comics, and I liked how. It's a writing scene. So you guys write jokes and you write premises, punchlines, setups, all that stuff. But then you guys have fun with it. You guys are just amazing and just enjoying your time. And I was told in the past by friends, not comics, just friends, like, Osama, you look like you're not having fun on there. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to make it. I'm like, you gotta have fun, bro. So when I got here, I'm like, and I had something happen that, you know, allowed me to look at life differently. But then I was like, man, I gotta. Are we almost close to the time?
Yeah, you good.
We gotta give me the light, brother. You can you can use my phone to give me the light if you want.
You good.
I saw like a lot of comics, without mentioning names, I don't miss anybody, but like they'll have a good time. And so it allowed me to tap into like the balding bit where I'm like, like literally like me saying a line like, oh, like I'm balding. I don't know if you can tell, but I didn't go to a barber. I was like, you know what, man, make me look like I'm ready for fatherhood without the financial stability and the love of my life. Like that kind of technique of writing was developed in Chicago thanks to the Chicago scene. So that's the one thing that I really looking forward to in the years to come is like just to really hone like the really just the descriptive style of comedy, the painting of a picture. Chicago comedy is good at painting images for you. Really good writing style. I like it a lot.
It makes me. I still haven't been to New York yet. It makes me want to visit to feel out.
You'll do great.
Oh, really?
Chicago comics do. I met Chris Higgins there. That's how when I saw him at the Lincoln Lodge, and he was like, "Hey, good to see you again." He's like, "You here permanently?" Or I'm like, "Yeah, I am here." He's like, I saw him there, and he murdered. And he's not the only guy. I've met other Chicago comics that I couldn't talk to them after the shows. I had to leave or whatever. But they're like, "Oh, this guy's coming from Chicago." I was like, I want to see how they do, and they always do great. So I knew coming here, I'm like, this is a fucking great move, They do great, yeah.
I do. I love the Chicago comedy scene, so I'm with you. You said something. You had a moment in your life where you looked at things different.
So the reason why I'm in Chicago because I had to move back from New York abruptly because of a family emergency. My little brother, he got really sick. He got a disease called transverse myelitis. Nobody fucking knows what it is. Even the doctors were like, "Wow, he got that, huh?" Jesus Christ! It's a virus disease that he's good now, just to premise, so I don't like keep going. People are like, oh, like I would say everywhere he got, people are like,
yeah.
I'm like, no, he's fine. But at the time, it paralyzed him from the waist down.
Oh wow.
In under 15 minutes, he was like a healthy kid. And one afternoon, my parents, they left. My mom actually went to her doctor's appointment, and he calls them up and he goes like, I can't stand. I've been throwing up and I can't stand. And so they left the doctor's appointment, and I was in New York. It was June 7th. I called them at 4 p.m. I was doing mics with some Michigan comics. I'm a Michigan comic originally. And so it was one of the few times we all hanged out in New York together, which was very nice. It was Elena and Connor meet, shout out. And there's also Jake Ford, but he wasn't there with us that day. So we were hanging out. I called him, and my mom was like, oh, we're in the hospital now because he can't move his legs. So I'm thinking, I got scoliosis. I'm thinking like a, pinched nerve, because that can happen to you. I was like, he's like, well, yeah.
We gotta do the things. Yeah, go respond to your mom. We'll create that build up of tension of what happened to your brother. I'm also very sorry to hear that, but I think that this ending of the story shouldn't be too bad. And if it makes you feel better, this is the saddest podcast in all of Chicago. So you're good.
You can keep it out. Actually.
Oh yeah, you're good.
Yeah, it's charged. Okay.
Yeah, saddest podcast in Chicago. Very proud.
No,
of
it's
myself.
I like real. I mean, I think comics. The more they face their things head on, the more they can be, less like I hate the notion of like I have to be depressed.
Yeah,
it's like you can take from previous depressions. You don't have to like keep living in it. You have to really like work on a better mental state in general to help you even have fun on stage. You have to be mentally. Because you can do great when you're mentally in the gutters, which is deceiving. It's like drinking and going up on stage. You're like, man, I can drink every day. Like, yeah, you're loose in that set, but like if you do it every time, you're gonna be an alcoholic. So
right. But you pinch nerve, but it's not it.
No, it's not even that. That was what I have sometimes with my back. And luckily I haven't had it in years. So then I call him back at night. He's like, well, I'll keep you posted, Osama. I was like, all right, cool. So I call him back at night. Now it's a changed scenario. Now he's in the pediatric ICU, the PICU as they call it, the pediatric ICU. Very fun word. I'm like, what the fuck? He was like, yeah, he's hooked up to all this machine. He's paralyzed, Osama. I don't know what to tell you. We don't know. Because it took like 3 days to. They actually didn't know what it was that I was already there. Like we didn't know. He was just hooked up to machines. He's and it was like about 9 p.m. So I was like, should I come back now? And they go like, hold on for a second. I remember I can hear the nurses and the doctors, and she put me on the speaker, and and my mom would even tell me like, listen to what they're saying because I want you to translate. Like her English is okay, but like how this it's American English, so it's like I got you. And so at 11 p.m. I booked a flight, the Spirit. 7 a.m. it took off. So noon the next day I was in the hospital. you know. Luckily, I did not have to work, and I just like whatever I had, I just dropped that day. And I even called my friend Louis Michael from Michigan. Hopefully, he moves to Chicago. Fantastic comic. Has been doing it for 8 years. Really good guy. I called him. I said, "Hey man, I could take the Michigan Flyer bus, but it would take me 3 hours. But if you can pick me up, it will save me so much time." He's like, "Say less. I'll be there." Picks me up from Detroit airport. Takes me to the hospital. We get there. You know, he's hooked up to machines, and like literally, like the guy, the legs are like not working. So we sit there, you know, to absorb a little bit of time, you know, and then, you know, in the preceding 3 days, they come back. They have to crisscross the symptoms, because the fear was that he's paralyzed from here. The fear was that the virus might go up and like collapse his lungs, because that's called Guillain-Barré syndrome. That's a whole other thing. Or it can be this, or it can be that. So eventually they came back, but they started him on a steroid dose, a really high one, which like really like saved, like helped him recover. Like there's them being quick about it, like helped him and his body like recoup quickly. And so they discovered it was like transverse myelitis. What is it? I'm like, this is what it is. It's a virus where there's a remnant of a virus from a previous infection. He could have just the flu. He could have even allergies. Like they don't even know what the cause is. It's just like all they know is it's a virus that stays over time in the body and travels up the spine, and then the white blood cells, you know, like the body gets like triggered, so the white blood cells get sent to attack wherever, and because they're white, they just beat the shit out of. Yeah, this is my favorite part of that story, is just to say that these white motherfuckers, right? They come into my back.
You're speaking my language. All right.
But these white blood cells, they literally go in, and so because the virus is somewhere there, they just start eating the casings. The nerve ending casings, you know, where the signals get sent through. So because they eat the casings, you go from feeling something to feeling nothing. So you go from in 15 minutes you throw up, you feel sick, and then you just can't feel your legs. I'm guessing they feel like when you wake up from like a deep sleep and your arm is like numb, but without the tingling. Before the tingling, you're like, what the fuck, you know? That's how he probably felt.
That must have been terrifying.
Yeah, probably to this day he's probably like traumatized. I can only imagine how that has affected him. So they were like, recovery time is between 6 months to 2 years. 100% recovery is not guaranteed. And to this day, he's about 90. I would say he's 98, 99% because his stomach is a little like, there's a little numb parts here and a little numb parts in the back. But he can stand fine and walk fine. Sometimes like he'll wobble. It looks like he got drunk for like half a second. So we didn't know if he's going to recover at the time. So I decided, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna move back to Michigan. So I like left my job. It was gonna be a very busy month with comedy because I was working really hard to get these shows. I had also my first ever solo produced show in New York. Not for me like in general, but just in New York. It was gonna be called Asylum Seekers, which I'm trying to get it started in Chicago, because I had an open mic running for like a year and 9 months in New York called Asylum Seekers because of my status. And it sounds good as a show, Asylum Seekers. And the idea was to bring immigrant and minority comics from around the world and the country to come perform. And the first show was going to have a bunch of comics, including a guy called Robbie Collin. Robbie, he's a South African comic that works with Trevor Noah. Very funny guy. So the first lineup was great. June 28th was the show at a nice like venue in New York. It took me 7 months to get them to say yes to my show. And I had like 20 spots in New York. Some were barking, you know, like for tickets, and some were like regular spots. I'm like, hell yeah, we're working. So I dropped all these. Not to say, not because people are like, oh, you're such a hit. I'm like, not hit, but just to like how deep entrenched you were in this. You're living there. So I dropped all this stuff, left my job, left my stuff in my apartment anyways. Told my roommates to find another guy to come take it in July. I just, you know, they can pick it up. And so, yeah, and then I just moved back. And then like a month later, I drove back and picked up my stuff and emptied the room and stuff like that, and I just moved back. And so for the preceding 5 to 6 months, 5 months,
and you're in Michigan now. You were
in Chicago, yeah. So starting June up until almost end of October, like October 25th or something, I moved to Chicago to test the water for 10 days, and then I moved permanently, or tried to move permanently by way of Airbnb month to month in the beginning, in November. So November, you can say I moved to Chicago officially.
Okay.
Yeah. So from June to November, I was with my brother, with my family. Took him to PT twice a week. Yeah. And then for the rest of the 5 days, me and the physical therapist, who was fucking amazing, she would push him a lot, and she would make me, like, this is how you should train him in the house. So she's like, and make sure you're harsh on him. Don't let, because my mom was like, he's sweating. I'm like, Tanya said he should better fucking go. You wanna walk?
Yeah.
Like the Rocky guy. It's like, I don't hear no bell, motherfucker. So we worked his legs. He went from like not walking to like walking with a walker, like the like old man walker, to then they made him a brace. But this all happened within like 2 weeks, which was like thank God, man. Like his recovery was quicker than even like he's really blessed to be learning how to walk as fast as he is. And we just kept going and kept like, you know. And I'll show you later. I have a video on my Instagram that I posted later on his birthday to show because I kept taking videos of him when he was recovering, when he's a PTH. Take pictures of him like improving over time with the bikes, and then eventually he's like on one leg balancing, which is fucking fantastic. So, and as soon as he got better and he was at that level where he was like he went back to school with a brace, and a month in he was no brace, carrying his bags fine. I was like, I gotta continue my comedy. I was doing comedy in Michigan because it's my home state, so they would put me up. I wouldn't do the mics because in Michigan you gotta travel like an hour and a half to Grand Rapids or Detroit. So I wasn't willing to do that. I just wanted to do like the local spot called Crunchies is where I started. Crunchies, a Max bar in Lansing, Michigan. I would do the sets there, and then I would do like Don't Tell Detroit, Don't Tell Ann Arbor. Shout out to all the people that put me up, you know, Johanna, Camilla, Ella, the Max Bar people, the Crunchies people. They put me on these shows. Then there's the Blind Pig in Ann Arbor, great mic. But it's like a 50 people come watch that. It's like a fucking great show. So I just did like between 3 to maximum 6 spots a month, going from 21 mics / shows in New York a week to. But it actually taught me a lot. Cause actually, my brain actually rested from all the comedy. I was able to actually come up with a lot of my new material. Like I came up with a good new 15 minutes that I like a lot.
And that's ultimately how you ended up in Chicago.
Yeah,
so if
so
it
I was
wasn't
like,
for...
I need to continue. This is my career choice. I literally gave up everything to do comedy. So I was like, well, what's the next? Where's the scene I can go to? And it's professional. It's huge, and you can get as big as you really want to without being far away. Because I got to be like a drive away. Like it's 3.5 hours to Lansing.
Right.
So I can just anything, even if nothing happened, I can just be there and see them more often than New York. New York, I felt helpless when I was so far away.
Now, this all started when you said that you look at life different after this. Can you explain your feelings, your thought process?
I remember you work so hard for these shows, right? And some of them I barked in the shittiest times of the winter, and a lot of comics. Shout out to all the comics in New York that bark all the time. It's really hard. Your hands are comedy show, or people are like, I'd rather suck my own dick. You're like, all right. Yeah, you funny? Is it free? I'm like, bitch, it's an art form. Like, respect me and what I do. You know, but they don't, which is unless you're famous. Is Chris Rock? I'm like, yeah, you're gonna see Chris Rock for $20 Get the fuck out of my face, man.
There's that New York coming out of you.
People tell me New York. I'm like, just the Arab in me. I think the Arab matches New York because I'm like, fuck out of my face, man. You're gonna be like $20. You want to see Chris Rock for $20? You can see my balls for $20. How about that? That's what you can see for $20. You know, I'll punch you with that shit, man. Get out of my face, man. I told this to a guy one time. I'm like, get out of here. He's like, but what if I'm like, you're not going to buy? I don't want you to buy. Get out of the fucking, leave me alone, all right? So all the stuff, all the shows that you have booked, you work so hard to get some that are like hosting instead of just barking. Some of that are regular spots instead of barking. You can just show up like a king and, you know, showtime. And the show, and you drop all of that. You go from looking forward to that to literally, because, you know, you find yourself in an ICU room, in a pediatric ICU room that's dark as he's sleeping, looking at like a wall, just a black room, and I was just like looking at the wall. I'm just like staring, and I'm like, man, oh man, isn't life very fragile? And we get caught up. The one thing about New York that like I don't like spiritually is that it gets you caught up in whatever you're doing, whether comedy, whether business, whether it's whatever it is, that you forget to even hug your friends and hang out with your friends, or even take a moment, you know, whatever. I always try to be like, you know, comics I've always said are my second family because I see them more than I see my family. So I used to always like to give comics, like, you know, we'll give them hugs and literally ask, how are you? Like, I've had comics I've had comics, like, I've asked them, how are you? Like, on a corner outside from the shows, and they'll, like, break down in tears. They'll tell me, like, this is what's going on, this stuff. I'm like, it's okay. Let it out. It's fine. Fuck comedy for a second. You as a person, how are you, you know? And so you forget that part. So, and that all came crashing, and that all came, like, in the fora, like, in the PICU, just like sitting there looking, and I'm like, when he gets better and I get back to doing comedy, I want to be as good as I can ever fucking be an undeniable force, and stop underselling myself too, because I'd be like, are you funny? I'm like, I can't. I'm like, nah, be as confident in some of these people that like are, you know, I don't think are like as good of a writers, but they are as confident in their material. I'm like, be as confident as them, and then your writing will show itself. A, B, appreciate life, enjoy life. Try to hang with people more. Try to, if you take a few days out of comedy, it's fine. You're not gonna rust in like, even if you take a month off, you're not gonna rust. You'll be fine. You've been doing it for so many years. You're not gonna, enjoy life. Make deeper friends in comedy. Make deeper connections with people. Yeah, so just the appreciation. So like here coming to Chicago comics also like they fucking outsmoke everybody and bathhouses and shit like this. And I'm like, I like this. It's very nice. And also, like I said, the love of the people have been a great blessing from you to everybody else, without naming all the names, but everybody being nice and be like, oh, you're really funny.
All the names
I'm
in my
like,
photo album. All the people I fucked.
huh?
All the names in my photo album.
Yeah, all these people that are like now can't walk straight. That's like
that is that's a beautiful sentiment that you learn, and I had those hard lessons. I had another reminder of that. You know how you learn that hard lesson,
yeah.
and then enough time goes by, and
Yeah.
you're like, no, but we're past it.
It's like when
now.
you get sick with fever, you're like, oh, I'm never gonna.
Yeah.
I was gonna appreciate food. Oh my god.
And then
you're
you-
like, man, yeah.
I had a friend pass away suddenly last week.
Last week. Condolences, man.
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah.
sorry.
Thank you.
hard.
He's a friend. He's a comic from back home from California. I'm from California.
Yeah.
And he's our age. Car accident. What's up?
What's his name?
His name's Nick Lanny. And I don't think. Well, maybe. I'll show you a picture of him.
Show me a picture. Yeah.
Car accident, and he was our age. He sweet, nice, like I've been. This is how I've been describing it to people. You're around comedians. You ever, there's comedians where if you found,
I saw the tribute of this guy.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, man.
It's not your fault unless you were the one driving.
Yeah, no. Was he like it's weird to like. Is he driving? Was he outside the car?
I don't know.
That's not good.
Yeah, when I saw the someone made a post and then everyone's spreading it like wildfire. I don't trust social media. I think people make shit up often.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me wait till I have proof. And then someone sent me an article. I saw his name in the article. I was like, okay, well, I've seen enough.
Yeah.
But it was last week, and it's.
How was he as a guy? Say something else about him.
Nick was. Oh, you're gonna make me cry on my own podcast again.
That's okay.
No, it's okay. Nick was a goober.
What does that mean?
It means he was just goofy. He was like goofy. He was just very sweet, very nice. Didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't curse. Big church guy, but not in like a douchey way.
Clean comedy too.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
hard.
I know. Surprising, right? He was one of the few people. When you meet someone that's religious, but they're not really following their religion, like they're
spiritual, but not like.
No, he was about that shit, and I had the utmost respect for Nick for that.
Yeah.
And just a lot of, an incredibly hardworking guy, and this idea of enjoying your life outside of comedy is something, and I hadn't. I saw him when I visited, thank God, the past December. But since I moved out here, I hadn't seen him for like 3 years. Yeah. And my memory of him, so who knows, maybe those past 3 years he was changed in some way. But I remember having conversations with him, and he basically said like he's putting off life to pursue comedy. Yeah. And having him pass away just so suddenly, so randomly, it's like comedy is great. And I'm glad we're doing this and we continue to pursue it, but fuck, man, if it all just goes away like that.
It does, for all of us.
Yeah.
It's like, we have a saying in Arabic, like they are the ones who have, they're the ones who have done it, and we're the ones who are following them. Like in terms of like death. Death is the one thing that's guaranteed to every. And then there's Kenny recently. Kenny from New York.
Do I not know Ken? Who's?
You know Ken?
Ken, yeah, give me a picture, please.
DeForest.
A little bit about me. I don't think you know this. I have a head injury, concussion. So I have a shitty memory.
From what?
I got sucker punched during quarantine. I was doing street stand up. Sorry, everyone who's listening who's heard this before.
Street stand up. Okay.
So yeah, I wasn't getting as much stage time as I wanted.
Yeah.
And so I just set up my shit on the street, and I would just talk for fucking hours. And during quarantine, it was really helpful. When things opened up just a little bit, I was on the street talking to a thing. Then George Floyd died, and then what I did kind of went from joking to protest. Like, I was very angry.
Yeah.
And I was just out there saying whatever. And then few months after that, I had finished up a set. I closed all my stuff, whatever. And I'm with my friend. And if I'm me and I'm talking to you, we're talking. Then for me, it's lights out, just randomly. The guy, whoever, I don't know what he looks like, but whoever he was, he snuck up behind me and he hit me in the back of the head.
He never got caught?
No.
Wow. White guy?
I don't know.
Well, who, the guy you're talking to, did he not see? Not to get mad at that guy, but
no.
Lights out for you too, bro. Everybody's turning off today.
From what I gather, so the guy that my buddy was, I think he's more traumatized by it than I was, because for me, it's
you're out.
I'm out. I don't know what's going on. He saw everything, and they like got him off of me, and then while they're trying to help me, the guy runs away, and it was a mess.
Yeah.
So I don't even ask him about it, really. He seems more traumatized by it than me. I'd never seen the.
Is he a white guy?
Black. He's from Detroit. And
oh shit!
And he that night he was like, "Do you want to go find them? Do you want to go find this person?" And I was in like a daze. I was like, "Man,
you might still find them."
Yeah, maybe. Fingers crossed. I really, on some level, I hope I fucking see this guy
Text
one
me.
day. Yeah, but so I have a really shitty memory.
Yeah.
So if I like ask you the same thing over again.
Oh no. If that's the case, it's not I'll show you Kenny DeForest was a comic. I didn't know him that well, but I did sit with him one evening for a prolonged time, and we spoke. So to connect with somebody like this, and he was very loved too. You can see from people's love. This guy, you might have seen the picture at least of the guy, in terms of well accomplished at the time too.
I have seen that. I've
like
seen
the.
that. Do we have to do the thing? I think we might have to do the thing.
It's fine, but just in the.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. If you want to go over, you can check. We good? We're about to wrap up anyway, man.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, I just wanted to. Chicago's been fucking.
Yeah, no, that's how they get their money, is by ticketing people.
But there was also a comic. He wasn't doing comedy full force like everybody else, but he was enough for regular, and we've known him for a couple of years. His name is Alec Esparza, and he passed away 6 days before me moving to New York. And I went to his funeral, and I went to the not the showing, but like I don't know what we call it in America, but like it's not just a funeral, but then. And then the visitation, I think it's like the two things that you do for the deceased to pay respects, and that was a guy, that he used to always. He was a fan of my shit. I didn't even know this before. I had Instagram during the pandemic, so that's when I opened Instagram. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have that many followers, and I still don't. But like
maybe this will help. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope all of us. But he actually had a picture of me on his Instagram from years ago, like, spending a good Tuesday, like, what? And he was always the kind of guy that would like tap me on my shoulder and like give me a hug and be like, big fan of your stuff, keep doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't in it 100%, because later I learned after in his death, like, people spoke about him. He was doing a bunch of stuff, like he gave a kidney to a stranger for no reason. Cross-country runner, environmentalist, stand-up comic. So he was doing multiple lives, and then he got taken away in also a car crash, like a side road accident. And it was so sudden that man, I couldn't stop weeping for a few days. It hit everybody, in terms of also like being surrounded with COVID and death and being locked in, and then him and so I had that little appreciation of life. And then I moved to and his mom gave me his shoes. I still have them to this day. I told her, like, once I make it to this comedy cellar, I'm gonna wear his shoes for the first ever set, and I'm gonna keep that promise.
I believe you.
I definitely will do that. But then again, like kind of life takes you, and then you go like, oh yeah, and then I still remembered him all the time. I still thought of him all the time. But that energy of like keeping like just appreciation of life, does definitely percentage wise drops a little bit. You're like, oh, it's comedy, my sets, I'm not getting booked. I'm not, I'm content, and then my the thing with my brother happened, and I will see too. I mean, also life is very fragile. At this point, I'm not even sure anymore. Yeah. I'm like, Chicago is great. I'll do as much as life allows me to do. I'll be here, as good as I can get. I'll get, and as big as we can get, we'll get. Nothing.
I think. Before I ask you the last question, I think, and I get ready for more compliments that you're gonna hate. I think you're gonna find tremendous success. If I'm to make a prediction, just the way
as you make it.
I know. I mean, just the way you obsess over comedy, the way you seem to obsess over it. It sounds like you were as obsessive over soccer.
Yeah.
I think
100%.
Your obsession will lead you to success, and I think your experiences with like your brother or whatever the fuck else is going to happen in the future will remind you to appreciate the success.
Yeah,
I could see if I could just see it. So I look forward to seeing that success of yours.
I hope we'll both move. I always say in comedy, your friends. I always say like your friend moves up, we all move up.
Yeah.
So if one of us makes it, the rest can make it. There's opportunities, the doors to open up, and you can tell this from the comics now that are famous, because they all got famous in different eras.
Yeah.
Like the Mark Normans and the thing, they blew up, and then the Dan Sodas are coming up. But all these guys are friends. They all been doing comedy, and this is what I hope all of us as a class forge for the next like 10 years, next 20 years. And I mean, comedy is also. It's like I also feel like it's a good time to be a comic. It's just it's a crowds are a lot of fun. Again, Chicago's allowed me to tap into a different, different style of comedy that I've been afraid to do and haven't got the comfortability level. But I got it here. I'm like, all right, let's it's a lot of fun to do it, and we'll just. Hopefully, and just more hangs. Once the summertime comes, we all gotta go.
Oh, summer of Chicago.
That's what I've been hearing. I never experienced it, and I have a truck, by the way.
Yes.
This is for whoever is listening too. Is open invitation. I have a truck, so if you go to the beach or we go camping, you can toss everything in the back. It's a Chevy Silverado 6-foot bed.
Yo.
You can toss things on there, and you can just go. Don't worry about the sand, and don't worry about the dirt.
We're making
fine.
S'mores. You ever had a s'more?
I'm not that Arab.
All right, just making sure. I don't know, man.
Also, Arabs have s'mores. Yeah.
They have s'mores out there?
Yeah, of course. We have KFC. We got all the stuff. In fact, it was funny. I was telling somebody, and I thought of it as a joke, but this is a real thing. Papa John's in the Middle East is a dine-in pizza spot. Like it's fancy. It's in the mall. There's like a host. There's a hostess for Papa John's.
What?
She goes like, "Welcome to Papa John's. How may I help you?" And you're like, "Is there like whatever?" So when
silverware at fucking Papa John's.
So when I came here for the first time, I was gonna go on a date with this girl, and she was like, "So where are you gonna take us?" I was like, "I was thinking, I don't know, not to like shock you, but I was thinking Papa John's." And she was like, "Papa John's." And he was like, yeah. I mean, we just go there. We'll get a table. We'll have a good time. It's a really good time. And then she goes, "You can sit in Papa John's." And we're talking about two different things, right? So I'm thinking she is surprised that I have connects. I'm like, yeah. I mean, they're probably packed out, but we'll probably find a reservation. And she goes like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I'm like, "Papa John's." She's like, "Papa John's?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Listen, when I meet you, we'll go to," and then she showed me Papa John's. It's a fucking racist N-word yelling shack in the wall. I'm like, my bad, fam. I thought Papa John's that I know, they're servers,
You're inspired. Next time I go to Papa John's, I'll wear a suit and tie and demand great service.
We just get like a lawn chair, like this is in the Middle East. You guys get, all of them are great. KFCs, McDonald's, all these are like you can take a date to McDonald's in the Middle East.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. There's like people will take your plates out of your way. It's crazy.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for the last question?
Please, yeah.
Okay, so here's how we do it. You want to look into the camera, pretend this is you 5 years from now. So you were talking to yourself 5 years in the future. and you can say whatever you want to yourself. I'll show you 5 years from now.
Have you done this, by the way, before we answer? Have you done this with comics 5 years? How long has it been?
This has been going since I moved here. It's been 3 years so far. I started doing this question maybe this past year.
Okay, so people are coming up, yeah.
So eventually, I'm playing the long game. Eventually, I'm gonna have people come back. They're gonna forget what they've said, and I'm gonna show them this is what you said to yourself 5 years ago.
Yeah,
that's gonna be fun. So man, whatever you want to say to yourself.
Aaron had a huge cock, man. This motherfucker still feeling it to this day now. What would I say? First, I don't know. I hope you kept some of the hair. It's not as bald. I'm thinking myself in 5 years, like I'm just.
Whatever you want to say to yourself 5 years from now, man.
I hope you're doing good. I hope you're alive, and I hope you're doing good, and I hope that your family's doing good, and I hope you have some papers, bro. Fucking all this refugee shit. I hope you have some papers, and maybe I would like to start a family, so maybe pick up your game. I don't know in the future. And the professional picture is, I hope. I'm talking to you that you are a professional stand-up comedian, like on the road doing gigs, and I hope you have at least 1 hour out by then. And and I hope you're doing well. It's still playing soccer, huh? And just as funny as possible, and as a good writer as possible. And maybe we'll have your own sitcom. I don't know. We'll see, huh? All right.
Let's take this picture.